In today's installment of our Italian series, we are talking all about the popular and beautiful part of Italy called Cinque Terre, which means five lands. Cinque Terre is on the Mediterranean Sea and includes the five villages of Monterosso, Vernazza, Corniglia, Manarola, and Riomaggiore. If you got through those. We knew that you could walk between the villages or take the train, but we really didn't understand how that all worked. So we were determined to find out all the information and share it with you. We stayed in the biggest and most northern village of Monterosso, and we share why you should too. We visit all the other villages, and they are beautiful, and tell you about each one and what to see and how they're all different. We use the train to explore some of the villages, and we also hike between two of them. We are blown away with the views. I mean, we knew they would be incredible, but nothing can compare you for what you will see or how tired your legs will be after your hike. Lastly, we take a ferry ride to see all the villages from the ocean, and wow, what incredible views you have. The ferry is another way to visit each village and takes you to a town south of Cinque Terre called Porto Venere. Stay listening to the end to find out some of the surprising things about the beaches in Cinque Terre and, of course, our favourite place to have a wine or, in Lyle's case, get this, a watermelon slushy. Oh, that's a turn up for the books. Remember, if you know anyone who has been to Italy or planning a trip, please share our Italian podcast series with them at www.beachtravelwine.com/Italy. We have people reaching out telling us how much they're enjoying the podcast because it's bringing back so many memories of their special trips. So we hope you enjoy episode 61, all about Cinque Terre. Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Good morning, Lyle.
Ciao, baby.
That's getting a bit thin. Anyway, hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in to episode 61 of the Beach Travel Wine podcast. Today I say this a lot, I know, but today I am excited, is probably the wrong word, but I'm really happy to be talking about Cinque Terre in Italy.
Yeah, you do say that all the time.
I do. Well, like ciao, baby.
Ciao, baby.
Yeah, right. And because, I tell you why, because when you talk about going to Italy, people say you've got to go to Cinque Terre because, you know, it's so beautiful and there's these five villages and you can walk between them or take the train. And I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't really comprehend how all of that fitted together. And going there, I was determined for the podcast, to find out exactly what, you know, Cinque Terre is all about and, you know, the paths and the trains and that sort of thing. So first thing first, though, 5 villages. Yes.
Yep.
The northern one is
Monterosso.
Yes.
Yes.
And Monterosso, and then
Vernazza. Then
Corniglia.
And then there's Manarola.
And Riomaggiore.
What did you call it? Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Riomaggiore.
Yeah. So my names for them were, Monterosso was easy enough. What was it? Vernazza Amorosi.
Corniglia. What was Corniglia?
I think that was just, you know, corn fritter or something. And then
Manarola.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And then Roger Moore.
Yeah. So, for Riomaggiore.
Yeah. So anyway, so let's talk a little about the location and a little bit of the history of the place, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what I want to talk about today.
Okay. Cinque Terre is a coastal area within Liguria, which is basically faces the Ligurian Sea, which is an arm of the Mediterranean in northwestern Italy. Paths, trains and boats connect the villages as cars can only reach them with great difficulty.
Yeah, well, you don't see cars, you see a few little things.
Yeah. Trains from La Spezia to all 5 towns, as well as to major regional and national destinations. Most long-distance trains do not stop at all 5 Cinque Terre towns. making it necessary to transfer from La Spezia onto regional trains. Some intercity trains also stop at Monterosso station.
Okay, so La Spezia, as Lyle's saying, it's not one of the 5 Cinque Terre towns, but they sort of do class it as in the Cinque Terre area, and it's right down south.
Yeah, that's at the south. And then
On a
Levanto,
is
which
it
is the
north?
town, yeah, that's at
The bigger
north.
town north. But the
Yep.
5 towns we've just talked about are the Cinque Terre ones. Now, La Spezia, if you get on an express train from Monterosso to La Spezia, it's a 15-minute run. That's it. And also La Spezia is quite a big town, and it's like a transport hub as well. So that's where a lot of people come in to visit Cinque Terre. Yeah.
Yeah, the closest airport is at Pisa, and that's about Pisa, Pisa, and that's about 80 kilometres from Cinque Terre. So then obviously you've got to get from Pisa to the villages, and also the other major one is Genoa, and that's about 120 kilometres. A scheduled passenger ferry runs between Levanto and La Spezia. As we just explained, Levanto is at the northern end and La Spezia is at the southern end, stopping at all the main villages except Corniglia, which does not have a landing point.
No, that's true.
The most popular path is known as the Sentiero Azzurro, used to connect the 5 villages. The section from Riomaggiore to Manarola, called the Via dell'Amore, the Love Walk, has been closed since 2019 and is expected to reopen in 2024. Look, a little bit of history. Cinque Terre, mentioned in documents dating back to the 11th century. Cinque Terre experienced an economic decline in the 17th and 19th century. Bombing and fighting World War II caused extensive damage. The railway led to migration from the area until the growth in tourism from the 1970s onwards brought prosperity. Leon and I talked about that. A lot of the areas in Italy around the 1970s, whether it be Cinque Terre or even the Amalfi Coast, just seemed to explode at that time. And we're sort of trying to work out why it happened there, and we're still not sure. And then on October 25, 2011, torrential rain caused floods and 9 people died. Now, part of the reason for that was that
it's so hilly and slopes.
It was fairly hilly and very, very hilly, actually, as you're saying, and there caused mudslides and all that sort of thing. And the other part of that was that quite before that, over a 60-year period, the terraced farming land, as in for the grapes and for the olive trees and that sort of thing, had let be dilapidated because they just weren't getting the profits from selling that stuff. But
so they didn't maintain the gardens and the what do they call the terracing on the hills?
Yeah, which also made it very much more easy for the mudslides to happen. So since then, obviously, they've got right back into it. And one of the things that we found was that and they're very, very parochial about it, is their Cinque Terre wine area. And we tried that out a fair few times, and the wine was spectacular.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. Now I want to talk about, giving you a bit of a outline of Cinque Terre. I don't think we've actually said, we've been very factual. It's a beautiful part of I was about to say Spain, of Italy, on the Mediterranean, as we said, and it's basically these beautiful hills that are terraced, as you said, and they almost step right down into the ocean, don't they? And so, and all the little towns, we've been to all of them. We're gonna tell you individually about those, but just an overview is they all have these beautiful coloured houses, pastel, and beautiful greenery on the mountains, and the ocean, the port areas, with the beautiful blue water sort of coming right up to the edge. It's a stunning little place. And now these villages are very close. They're only about 5 minutes apart on a train, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And you can walk between each of them, as we said. And we're going to tell you a bit more about that too. But I just wanted to say it's a stunning area. It's not just it wasn't just an old farming area. It's just beautiful, and they've maintained the look of it over the years. There's no high rises, there's no big resorts. It's just you look at the little villages and they look like they probably looked in the 1970s, right?
Yeah, well, they say that the population of all 5 towns is about 3,500.
Yeah, it's not very big.
And I think there's one with 150. That's right. Yeah, Corniglia has only got a population of 150, and the Manarola's got 353, and the largest population is Riomaggiore, which is 1,542.
Monterosso would be close though.
Yeah, that's got 1,468.
Yeah.
1,468.
So these are permanent residents.
Yeah, they're permanent residents.
But the locals probably live in La Spezia or Levanto, some of the bigger towns, which just are on the fringe of Cinque Terre. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's probably the only way that Cinque Terre would be able, to
survive with.
Have the infrastructure and the service staff. You'd need those towns on the fringes, but
you would. Okay, so let's go back to how we got to Cinque Terre.
Okay, so we came from Como.
We did come from Como.
Okay, so
which means we had to get on that train at Como.
Yes, we left. We got a taxi from Vista Lago, where we stayed in Como, to the railway station. We were early, which may surprise everybody, not us. We were booked on an earlier train.
No, a later train. We booked on a 9:30.
Later train. And
I went up and said, can we go on the early one? She said, sure, there's one coming. I was like, that's in 5 minutes. And she's like, sure, no worries. And so I ran to Lyle and said, quick. And anyway, it was right. The platform was right there. We got on the train. I think we got a seat this time.
Yeah, it was on the Regionale train from Como to Milan. And the train was about $8.40 Australian to Milan.
Yep.
There's 62 direct trains every weekday from Como to Milan. The train from Como to Milan takes about 47 minutes. And the train from Milan to Cinque Terre is about 3 hours.
So when we got to Milan, we had I think we had a couple of hours to fill in, and so we did find a cafe to sit down. But once again, Milan train station, I've never seen anything like it in my life, and to say I'm glad I'd probably never go back to that station, or didn't have to go back in this trip. I was quite pleased about it.
I didn't think it was look. The series, sure. Was it busy? It was frighteningly busy, but all the
it's not hard to find your way around.
No, it's not. Yeah, and there's plenty of signage, and all the platforms are on the one level.
And the other thing I liked about this one was, and this is like probably not even that relevant, but they actually had where your carriage was. They had little signs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Carriage 4, carriage 5, and because you never know which way they're going to be. If the first class is going to be at the front and your carriage is going to be in the middle, and what you want to do is get to the carriages early to get place for your luggage, right?
Correct.
We were able to hop on that. And it was a nice sort of train ride. It was comfy. Aircon, Wi-Fi if you want it.
Yeah, and the views along the coast were beautiful. It was really nice. But we arrived in Monterosso.
Yep. There's a few stairs. Because even though the train station's right at the ocean, you're still up a bit high, and we've just about worked out how to get our suitcases around by now, haven't we?
Yeah. So look, there was a few people at Monterosso, but it was pretty easy to find your way to the exit. Once we found the exit, Leanne had contacted our hostess, and it was we turned right and walked about 300 metres
But before we got 300 metres to where our apartment was. However, I was quite impressed. As soon as you get out of the train station, you're right on the beach.
Yeah.
There's a little road, and then there's a beautiful promenade, and there's cafes, and you can see all the umbrellas on the beach, and there's bougainvilleas on the buildings, and up the left you can see more of the mountains and things. You're just like, oh, okay, you've arrived. Not many train stations are like right in the guts of it.
Yeah. Well, that little road you mentioned was Via Vernazza. Gina,
yes.
and the beach, which is the beach that you walk, the waterfront that you walk along, is the Vergina Beach.
Right. Yeah.
So we walked down towards the end of that, and we found our apartment. And tell us about the apartment.
Well, it's just back off the main road, I guess you call it. But where we were, there was not much traffic flow because there was like a dead end sort of road. But I was impressed just walking down because of the beaches and the boats and the umbrellas, and then the big, Neptune statue, which I'm sure we're going to mention in more detail in a minute. But the apartment was, probably 30 meters up the road. From the main road.
And at the quiet end of town.
Yeah, really quiet end of town. It was on the first floor, so up a few more stairs. Anyway, it was a lovely apartment. It had, separate lounge, nice big bedroom, bathroom, and of course had a washing machine, which was really handy, and a lovely little balcony. In our balcony, you could glimpse the ocean, and there's a tennis court, and not for us, but just and beautiful trees, and you could just always hear the birds chirping and that sort of jasmine smell. It was in such a great position. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. But as I said, we're right there at the beach, and we're right at the northern end of Monterosso, so you can't go any further on the beach than what we are. And there's a private club there, hotel, which has the Neptune statue.
Yeah, I can't think of the guy's name, but the guy that originally built that was actually won the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Okay, well, it got bombed in the war, didn't it? And but still pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, so I haven't mentioned, but I always do. Go have a look. I've got all the photos on our Beach Travel Wine website, episode 61. I've put them all in order. So I've got all the Monterosso photos together, and as we talk about the other villages, I'll mention it again. But go and have a look at those photos, and you'll see exactly what I mean by this big statue and the beaches with all the umbrellas and that sort of thing. So there we were in Monterosso. Yes.
See.
Of course, when we get to a new place, we like to explore, and we walked along the beach area and checked it out because we're right at the northern end, and we walked along along the promenade, as I mentioned before, and then we sort of kept going because we could see there was like a little headland that, we didn't know whether we could walk around that, but we actually walked into the old town part through a tunnel.
Through the tunnel, yeah.
And it's actually for cars or vehicles, but everyone just walks through there because you can walk around the headland as well, which we did another time, which was really beautiful. And we ended up in the old town, and that was really impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, the thing that really stood out to me was the tiny, tiny delivery trucks.
Oh, yeah,
they're tiny.
They are tiny.
Yeah, so anyway, so we finally found the old town. And anyway, we saw a sign that said lemon spritz.
Limoncello.
Oh, limoncello spritz.
Yeah.
So we'd heard of limoncello, but we really hadn't heard of this limoncello spritz. Spritz. Leanne had the normal Aperol spritz, and the Urgo spritz, and the Urgo spritz up until now is probably a favourite. It was more like a mojito. Anyway, we sat down, and they were €9 each, which is about $15.
Big drink, though.
Oh, it was a big drink, and both of us loved it. We just fell in love with it. Anyway,
I loved where we had it. We had it was like a lovely little, I don't know, authentic little bar, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we drank it inside because there was no room out the front, and the biggest barman I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He was huge. But anyway, we had that, and then we decided we were going to go back home and get ready for dinner. Yeah. There was a ristorante Baraba, which was located at the end of our street. So we thought, well, we may as well try there. Anyway, I had the grilled whole sea bass, which was €22, and Lan had the teriyaki salmon, which was €20, and all washed down with the germain, which is GERMANN, which is actually an Italian wine, Pinot Grigio. Look, the food was fabulous. And just a tip, when the waitress brought over my fish, it was still whole. She asked me whether I wanted it cleaned. I said yes. Anyway, she basically cleaned it at the table, and the food was spectacular.
And the restaurant we're talking about, I think we haven't really told you, is right on the water too. And between it, on the left side, as you look at the water, there's like a enclosed little futsal, football field.
Yeah.
And on the right is the little public beach area with the beautiful big giant statue overlooking you as well. And it's a beautiful location. And they gave us a really nice table up the front. And after dinner, we decided we'd do a little walk up the promenade again, because it was just cooling down, and it was as the sun was setting, and I got some beautiful photos of that. And there's one in particular with the moon over the top of a boat right over on the beach. It's very, very beautiful. So that was a pretty big first day, wasn't it?
Yeah, and one of the things we noticed when we did go for the walk that night was that the crowds, the daytime crowds, had disappeared. It was actually relatively quiet from about 6 p.m.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So then, so the next day.
Well, we decided we were going to, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, we were going to go and check out all the ways you can go to the different towns and go to all the different towns so we could tell people about it in the podcast. So we figured the best thing to do was get on the train and head down to the furthest town of Rogermore. What is it? Riomaggiore. And we were going to get the train down there, have a look around, and then get the train to the next one over, which was Manarola, and that was going to be our day. So the train station, as we said, was pretty close to home, wasn't it? And so we went up to the office. Now there's a ticket office just for the train tickets, and then there's a ticket office for the
train and the national park,
right? Because we haven't actually said, if you're walking in not all the tracks between towns, but you have to get a pass to go into the national park, don't you? So you've got to get both of those. So we bought a train and a day pass for €18.20.
Yeah, that's right, which is about $30.
Now that gets you unlimited on and off the train between the 5 towns, and walking any of the tracks as well.
And that also includes the national park access.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant.
So the actual Monterosso ticket office opens from 6:20 a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
That's the Monterosso train ticket office.
Train ticket office.
Yeah.
And the Cinque Terre express train runs every 15 minutes from 5 a.m. to 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And then there's the other ticket booth, I should think you call it, where we paid the $18.20, and that opens from 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so the other thing to know about the trains is, if you just want to do a train pass, you can do that. But if you just want to go from one town to another, it's €5 per person per stop. So if you want to go from Monterosso to 2 or 3 other towns, it's €5 in between each town. So you're much better off to get the pass for the day.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So on the way back, it's really €20 when you think about it for both of us, both ways.
And some people want to go to more than 2 places.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we hopped on the train. We had our pass. It's really easy. There's 2 platforms. One's going south, one's going north. And you hop on, and we went to, and of course it stops at all the little ones along the way. So we started Monterosso, we're going to the M1, and so we have to get off at Riomaggiore, which we did, and it's right. Once again, it's right down at water level, the train station, isn't it? And once you come out of the train station, you can basically go left or right, can't you?
Yeah, and we basically actually what we did is there was an information centre there, and we went in and got a book lit on basically Cinque Terre.
Yes.
And then we walked up the left, and that was sort of more...
We were following crowds a bit.
Yeah, pretty much. And that was sort of up to like more residential area.
Well, people looked like they knew where they were going, so we're like, we'll
Well,
follow them.
we definitely didn't.
But
So.
it was a lovely path. It was
Oh yeah, it
wide,
was nice.
and the views were beautiful, and you could actually see a church on top of the hill. So we just took our time. We didn't have any agenda, and because obviously we get off at the ocean level, and all the towns are up the hills. And I took some beautiful photos of Riomaggiore. Once again, have a look on the website, Beach Travel Wine, episode 61. And we found our way, because we hadn't had breakfast or anything. We found our way all the way up the top to a cafe, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We had coffee and croissants, and it was €10, which is about 16 Australian dollars. Look, and as Leanne said, the beauty of even in this residential area, you're looking back over the Mediterranean or the Ligurian Sea, and the views are just spectacular.
Yeah,
they really, really are.
There was a church there.
Yes, there was a church there,
and it was very dominant on top of the hill.
Yeah, it's a little further on. We found the Church of Saint Giovanni Battista, founded in 1340 and engraved and enlarged in 1870. On the facade, there is a rose window of the 15th century and statue of the four evangelists.
Well, yes, that's true. But we talked to some other Aussies that were up the top, and we were chatting to them. And once we sort of looked at the church, we decided we were going to find our way. Go for a bit of a wander around and they're only tiny, these little places, as you said, 300 and I don't know how many people, but tiny little places. And this one, the houses in it are a little bit brighter than the others. They're not quite as pastel, as you'll see from the photos. And so we wandered through some old cobblestone streets and slowly made our way down back to the main port area. But before on the last sort of stretch of that is like the shops and the main street, and it's full of beautiful bright pink geraniums and really cute little shop fronts and little they've got little awnings out and just cafes, and it was, I don't know, really very quaint, very pretty, and we just wandered around there. And because we just had something to eat and drink, we didn't really need anything else. But I would love to have sat there for a little while and just sort of taken that all in. Hey.
Yeah, it's probably that particular day was probably what the stereotypical idea you have of Cinque Terre village.
Yeah.
It was.
But if you were staying there, you'd be a bit worried because it was very steep and lots of stairs, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But so Riomaggiore is very quaint, very pretty. They've got the churches and the beautiful bright buildings, and it was just gorgeous. But it was time to head back to the train station and hop back on to our next stop. Yes.
See.
We're back at the train station and ready to hop on the next train to Manarola. The trains run pretty frequently, so you don't ever wait long for a train to come, and everyone just jumps on. And what would it be? They're about 5 minutes maximum between the towns. But and you think it's going to be beautiful views, but a lot of the trip is in tunnels, isn't it, to get under?
Yeah. Basically, you're right. But the train railway line does run parallel to the foreshore, but as Leanne's saying, it's a lot of it's tunnelled. And
get a few glimpses.
When you arrive in Manarola, you get out of the station and you have to go through a tunnel.
Yes.
That takes you to the main square, and that is the Piazza Innocenzo, the fourth, and that's basically high above the village. So you walk through that, and then you basically walk down. It's like walking through a ravine down through the town.
Yeah, so
to the rugged foreshore.
You could imagine that, like in a valley, it'd be where the river is, and all the villages are pretty well like that. So you've got these high mountains, or these high hills, steep hills, sort of jutting out from the main street in town, pretty much. So everything in the town is up on these hills, all the houses and the churches, and except for this one little strip down the middle of the town, which is stunning, right?
Oh, look, the town's beautiful.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And again, you've got the pastel painted buildings that they
Well,
just.
this one does have the what do you call the stereotypical pastel buildings, and it's got I've got a photo that everyone takes. It's the picture, if you think of Cinque Terre, that people show, and it's looking back over the port area of Manarola and the buildings and it's just beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the other thing that really stands out at Manarola is there's a whole bunch of fishing boats.
Oh, in the middle of the street.
Yeah, in the middle of the street. And anyway, I found out what happened is there's no real port to in Manarola, so they winch the boats out every day. So that's why they're there.
So yeah, you're walking down this beautiful main street, and you're dodging these little fishing boats everywhere. It's very, very cute, and you can have a look at that on our website as well.
My favourite Manarola experience was walking along the pathway to the Piazza Montala, looking back towards the village. Basically there's people swimming and jumping off rocks, and it's just beautiful. And in the foreground, it's just amazing.
Well, you can take, like I said, a path, excuse me, up around. It's not too far, a couple of 100 metres. And the views the whole way, looking back, you're actually looking back on Manarola, and not away from it. And it is pretty, the pathway. And along the pathway, there's little artists, painting,
That's right.
pictures, and there's little seats to sit down, and it's got these beautiful sort of pine trees sort of hanging over the path, and it just makes for fabulous photos, and it's very beautiful. And then you go around the headland a bit further and look back towards the other Cinque Terre towns looking north. But yeah, that whole Manarola area is what we're talking about looking back. It's just beautiful. To go and have a look at episode 61, the photos of Manarola, and you'll know exactly what I mean.
And there is a restaurant up the top of that hill.
Yes.
And look, it was beautiful. So then we actually had a fruit salad there.
We did.
Yeah, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was I think €5, and that's about $8.50. And it was really nice. But Manarola was what can you say? It was beautiful.
Yeah, the way the main street sort of works is that you go down a like a steep bit, and then there's like a flat sort of little plaza area, and then you go down another little bit. So they've got it sort of in steps, like tiers as well. All the way down. And when you're at that last sort of tier, and you're looking over the brick wall down to the last little bit that goes down to the back down to the water, that's where you can see all the boats from up above, and it's pretty impressive, for sure.
Well, you've also got the amount of people taking selfies was unbelievable.
Well, including us. So we got
sure.
Anyway, so that was Manarola, and very, not too different from the other one, but the buildings are a bit softer in colour, and you've got the boats in the main street, and you can walk around that headland. Whereas in the Riomaggiore, the walk was sort of more in the back of the town area. So very beautiful.
So then we headed back to...
It's quite a long tunnel, I'm just going to say, to walk through to get back to the train station.
Sure. So, but anyway, we headed back for lunch, back to Monterosso.
So back on the train, and
Correct.
We decided we'd stay on the train for the next couple of stops and get off at, as Lyle said, Monterosso. And, we decided to go back to Monterosso for lunch, and it was a late lunch though.
Yeah, it was late lunch, and we were both getting pretty hungry by that time. So we went to the La Villa degli Argentieri, where our very friendly and efficient Antonella recommended the La Palenza Cinque Terre, which is
the wine,
which is a winery in Corniglia.
Yes, which is one of the 5 villages.
Yeah, and it's made from a blend of Bosco, El Barala, and Vermentino wine, grapes.
Did we eat?
Yes, we did. I had a hamburger and it was beautiful.
You went straight to the wine.
No. Yeah, I know. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
So Antonella was lovely. The food was good. As I said, I can remember having a hamburger and it was really great. The lemon spritz.
Limoncello spritz.
Limoncello spritz were €7, so they were a bit cheaper than the first ones. And the wine by the glass was €4. So pretty good value, really.
Well, one of those limoncello spritz, I had one, and it just about knocked my socks off. So I had a few more. So then we decided after lunch we needed a swim, didn't we?
We did, we did. So anyway, we went down to the little beach, which is really the only public. We were really, really lucky. It was really the only public beach was right at the end of our street. Anyway, so Leanne's made it very clear to everybody that I don't really like the cold water, and we hadn't.
You've made it very clear to everybody.
Well, I don't like the cold water. Bottom line. Anyway, so we get down to the beach, and Leanne says, "Well, I'm going in," and she was very, very brave. She just went in, dived in. We've got a video of that, and she did very, very well. And she made out like it was just beautiful and warm.
Actually, you can see that on our Instagram at Beach Travel Wine. If you go up to the top to the stories and go across to Cinque Terre, you'll see me doing the influencer walk on the beach and a dive in.
Well, there's an influencer walk, wasn't
Well, they all take photos now of the back of them, standing.
Oh, is that? Oh, I didn't realise that. Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Anyway, Leanne was determined that she was going to get me in. So she did say that she wasn't going to touch me, but she didn't. She was freezing cold. She's cuddled me and I'm going, leave me alone. I look around and everybody on the beach, because the beach was packed, and everybody's just looking at me, with very, very sad attitudes, as though to say, you weak person. Anyway, so eventually I went in. It was freezing. Anyway.
But it was refreshing, yes?
Freezing.
Yes. Anyway, it was worth it, yeah? It was a nice end to it was a nice way to finish our day.
It was. Anyway, so we went home, got changed, and we went back to
the same place for dinner.
Bar Abba in White again, and we had a beautiful dinner again.
Well, next day we decide is a day off, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you called it a repair and maintenance day.
Yeah, or podcast work.
Yeah, which included the podcast.
And for any women out there, understand you're going away for 8 weeks. There's some, hair removal and hair dye and things that need to be done at some stage in your trip. So it was one of those days. So we still had to get out and eat and have brekkie. We just didn't, go too far from home for the half of the day. And we went out for brekkie first, though, didn't we? And then
we tried another cafe. It's called the Focacceria Cafe on Via Vergana.
And basically, Via Vergana is the road, the only one
road. the main road, yeah. So
and just around the corner from us.
Yeah, for coffee and fruit salad. And the fruit salad was a decent size and the quality was unbelievable. It was €17 or $28. So then we
did some work and stuff, but you've got some really good information though about Monterosso, didn't you?
So we decided we were going to check out more of the old town. So we did that. This part of it's more about what is in the old town. You've got the Church of St. Giovanni Battista, originally documented in 1244. Later in 1293 was dedicated to St. John the Baptist. It was rebuilt in the 13th and 14th centuries. Now, the thing that's really stuck out to us is, because it's sort of right in the middle of the main square there, is the columns with alternate blocks of white marble and green stone.
Yeah, it was stunning.
And that actually went inside as well.
And it's right there on the little cobblestone streets. It doesn't sit back on its own like a lot of the churches. You just sort of walk up the street and think, oh, geez, look at this.
Yeah, and then you've got the Capuchin. I'm not sure how to say this, but it's a Capuchins. It's a monastery and the Francesco Church. The origins of the building date back to the early 17th century, and the other building that stands out is the Aurora Tower. That's located at the foot of the San Christopher Hill, just below the Capuchins. Probably built in the 16th century by the Genoese on the previous tower to defend Monterosso from the pirate raids. Now, I think the pirate raids were a big deal at one stage there because they talk about it in Riomaggiore, they talk about it at
right.
Manarola. So
Yeah.
They're the probably the historical sites that you come across. But then it was time for
I don't know, Long. What was it?
another
I don't know.
lemon.
Oh, well, that was later in the day. But yeah, when we went up near the church, we did. Yes, we went and had went in the old town. We found another spot to have a limoncello. Yes.
Yes.
And so we sat there across from the shop. You had a limoncello shot or something. I don't know what. That was weird, wasn't it? But
It was
I had the spritz.
homemade.
But my limoncello spritz came in like a beaker from a hospital. Like it had like, I don't know, like it looked like it was used for something else. But anyway, I'm sure.
Yes, it did. Now you come to tell
But
me.
as we're sitting there, there's the cobblestone street in front of us. There's the limoncello shops and some other shops across the road, and they're all decorated. They're all got the beautiful plants, and then there's sort of like a overhead sort of arch, an old arch that you go through. And I got some beautiful photos of this old city in episode 61, the show notes. But behind me is a huge lemon patch. Just a lemon patch. Sorry, tomato patch. Right. So there's like a brick wall or an old stone wall. And it's about, like as a stand up, I can see it. So it's, almost 6 foot high. And
I don't know what mirror you'll be looking in. But anyway, go
on. But it's just in the middle of town. There's this beautiful, huge tomato patch, and you can smell the fresh tomatoes. And then there's this old guy out there just, giving them a bit of water and checking out his tomatoes. And then as we're sitting there, as Lyle said before, this little delivery truck's going past. And it's like a little motorbike, really, with a little...
You know what it reminds me of? Those Matchbox cars.
Yeah, it does. So that was pretty nice. I did enjoy sitting there having that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we decided we were going to have dinner.
Yeah.
We're getting pretty hungry. So although we had a small wait, it was at the Hotel Mariner.
Well, the thing is, we went there early and said, "Do you open?" They said, "No, 6:30." I'm like, "Okay, we'll go back." And we were there right on the dot of 6:30. And the restaurant was chockers.
Yeah, but there was people everywhere. Anyway, look.
We're waiting to go into this authentic little Italian restaurant with the red and white checked tablecloths and the low ceilings and the timber, beams and, all that stuff. And then they hand you a electronic device so you can come back when it buzzes at you.
Yeah. But the lady was nice. I mean, but to be honest, the food was amazing.
Yeah, it was nice.
I had the seafood ravioli.
I think I had mushroom pasta.
Leanne had mushroom pasta. Yeah. Highly recommended. We're not sure whether you can pre-book or not. No. But if you can, make sure you do. Seriously, it's in the old town. It's Hotel Mariner. Yeah. It is absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, on the way home, one of the things I noticed was the beach umbrellas and sunbeds.
Well, it's not just on the way home. Every time you're walking through Monterosso,
and
go and have a look at the pictures. You'll see what I mean. There's just rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of orange and green umbrellas.
Yeah, and they're really tightly packed.
Mm. They look pretty impressive because they're all in a nice, neat row and everything, especially at the end of the day when there's no one there.
And they're all the same colour, orange and green. Yeah. So, but anyway, I found out that 90% of the beach area in Italy is either owned or is concessioned from the government.
You have to pay to get on.
You have to pay.
And rent out those umbrellas.
Yep.
And chairs. And they range from...
Well, we saw in Monterosso, it was, I think the cheapest was €30.
Yeah, I thought it was 35, but anyway, 30.
Okay. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Like, they can change that because it depends on what time of the day it is. It depends on where the tide is. And
what time of season it is. What season it is.
We actually saw one you could hire on
the Isle of Capri.
The Isle of Capri, it was €100.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Mate.
But I tell you what, it makes for a really nice walk back from the old town, along the promenade, to look at all those umbrellas, and they look really pretty all the way back to our apartment.
Yeah, and also, the other way, you've also got all the lights of the small towns, like as you're sort of going back around sunset, because it was beautiful. You got some really good photos.
I did, for a change, didn't I, Don?
Yeah, Star.
So the time had come for us to do some hiking, walking along one of the tracks. So let me quickly talk about the tracks that so people know what we're talking about. There are quite a few hiking tracks sort of out of the villages in the national park, but the tracks we're talking about are the tracks that run along the hillsides between each little town. Now, most of them are between sort of 3.5 to 4 kilometres long, and you can walk from each village either way. So there's not a set way to go. You can do one, you can do all of them, except the last one, which is closed at the moment, which is the southern one. As you said, it's been closed for a while. You have to pay to go on them, as we mentioned earlier. You need to get a pass for that. If you don't buy your pass at the ticket station, you have to get that at the little booth that they have at the beginning of each
Trail.
track, right? Now, we did some research into which trail was the easiest and which direction was the easiest. So that's how we found ours. Because if you start at Monterosso and walk to Vernazza, it's one of the hardest ones because you're starting with really steep stairs. You actually read the one we did was one of the harder ones, but I don't know. I guess it depends once again which way you go. So what we figured out is we were going to walk from Corniglia, the one in the middle, and we were going to walk back to Vernazza.
Correct.
Which is the second little town. And that gave us that we'd already seen the two little end towns, and now we're going to see the next two. That was our plan, right?
Yep.
Now, as Lyle said, Corniglia is sort of set up high, and you could walk up, but when you get off, so you hop on the train, you go 2 stops from Monterosso, and you hop off, and then they run part as the train ticket. They run a free little shuttle service. So there's a bus just goes up and down all day long. So I think we might have waited 3 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
And we hopped on the little shuttle bus, yes?
Yep.
And went up the top to sort of it's only a little small sort of parking area where you hop off and you can start the walk, right? Now, we hadn't had anything to eat or drink, so we decided we were going to go there first and have a coffee and a croissant. I think we had, did we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
We just stopped short of the top of the stairs there, and we had, as Leanne said, the cafe and the croissants. It was €6.50, which is about $10.60. There are in that restaurant, that cafe, should I say, there is more substantial breakfast available. Yeah.
And I did a quick wee lee because I knew we were going to be walking for a while, and so we headed off. Now there are some little signs that sort of said like tell you which way to go to get to the beginning of the track, and they also have the tracks marked with red and white, sort of painted on rocks and things, but also little signs as you go. But honestly, once you're on the track, you can't really get off it without, you can't get lost. So I've got some beautiful, beautiful photos. But we started, as you go past, you're walking through, the first part of it, you're walking through lemon groves and olive groves, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then you come across, we came across this old, I guess it was a Roman bridge. I don't like the little stone.
Yeah, sure.
Arch,
it was the
bridges.
Roman bridge.
So
yeah.
Not only have you got the beautiful orchards and things, you've got Roman ruins along the way as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this particular track we did, as I said, we did the easiest track in the easiest direction, I thought, and it was 3.4 kilometres long. Now, it's I would call it more rock climbing in some places. You sort of said they're quite jagged and quite big, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, it takes about an hour and a half.
That's going constantly.
Yeah.
It took us much longer than that.
And overall height difference of the trail is 120 meters, which gives you an idea of,
because you're starting up high anyway.
Yeah.
But you still go up.
Sure.
And then you got to come back down. Yeah.
And then we met a couple of Kiwis.
Well, it was a Kiwi and his parents or friends? Anyway.
Anyway, so they were really quite funny people, and they told us that if you reckon this is hard, don't do the Vernazza to Monterosso, Monterosso, which was much more difficult.
Well, we met them about halfway along. It was getting hot, and I just said, "Oh, I'm in need of a drink," and they said, "Don't worry, there's a bar. You're nearly there." So we were almost halfway. Like the track is rock in places. I've taken some really good photos to show you what the track's like. But what you've got to remember is you're there for the views.
Sure.
And the whole way you were just looking at ocean and mountains and trees, and someone somewhere was playing music, and it was like old 60s sort of jazz music, wasn't it? Or soul. And it was sort of just drifting up through the valley, up the mountains, and for a lot of the time on the first half of the track anyway, it was just you and I,
sure,
because we got an early start, and that was pretty magical, wasn't it?
Oh, look, I said to Leon at the time, I said, if this is just by chance, this music, if it's only just by chance that we're hearing it, they should make sure they do it, because it was so. It was just so relaxing. It really was. It was my favourite part of the actual walk.
But the views, I've got some stunning views, and I took some photos from the little bar that we stopped at. And I think, was it a slushy we had?
Yeah, we did. It was at Il Gambino.
There's only one.
There is only one. It's a juice bar.
Well, you can get alcohol.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And it's got like an observation deck with chairs and tables, and the cafe bar itself.
And it's covered in bougainvillea, and it's sort of rustic timber, and it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, and we had watermelon. Yes. Oh, well, I had a watermelon. Did you have a lemon one?
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, it was €11.50, which was $18.75. Look, as far as the steps are concerned, although at times the steps do appear more like jagged rocks than steps, as long as you're careful, you should be okay.
Yes. I will say, I forgot to say earlier, we felt very underprepared as we're hopping on the train right back at the beginning of the day, when there's people with their huge hiking boots and their backpacks with their water, this tube that they suck out of, and their poles, and they've got their their anti-fly hats on, and their all the gear, right? All, and we're just like, okay, but until we come across people on the path with bare feet. But apparently, if they see you, the people at the little booths, they won't let you walk the track without proper footwear. So
but we saw people running it.
Well, we saw idiots running it.
I mean, okay, fair enough.
And so the second half of the walk is just as beautiful,
and it's mainly downhill.
Well, which is sometimes harder down those big rocks, right?
Sure,
because you've got to get from where you are 120 metres up above, or even higher than that above sea level. We were already high at Corniglia, then you're up 120 metres further, and then you've got to get from there all the way back down to sea level again to Vernazza, right?
Correct.
But coming down to Vernazza, there's an old sort of fort and an old castle, it looks like, and once again there's the flowers and the ocean and the trees, and then you see the plaza of Vernazza and the buildings. It's a little bit more substantial than Vernazza, because it does have actually a plaza area, Piazza Marconi or something down the We take our time getting back down. Lyle's being rude, saying, what are you doing? I'm like, I find it hard to get down these big stairs. They're not just normal stairs, I might be 6 foot, but I've only got short legs. So, I've got to get from one.
Where do you get this 6 foot bullshit from?
I don't know. Just said it before when I was looking at the tomatoes. Anyway, so we get to Vernazza. It's taken us a few hours without stop. We were half contemplating we might do the last track as well, but once we got here, we're just like, screw that. No.
Well, it was more so, from my point of view, it was more so when the Kiwi said, if you reckon this is hard, don't do the other one. Actually, I just to to butt in here. I've actually got some wording here about the track for Vernazza to Monterosso.
The one that we didn't do.
The one. Due to its narrow, winding paths flanked by a drop on one side and steep ascent and descent along an unpaved rocky way, is one of the toughest hikes in Cinque Terre. The 2-hour walk is a daunting journey along the northernmost trail of this region. So when I read that, and I thought, thank God we didn't do it. But anyway, Vernazza, it's got a population of 852. It's got an area of 12 square kilometres. It remains one of the truest fishing villages on the Italian Riviera. Yeah. It is the only natural port of Cinque Terre, famous for its elegant houses.
Yes, it is beautiful. And there's a big church on the
piazza.
There's
the Santa Margherita di Antiochia church. Has a bell tower topped by the elegant cupola, which is the rounded dome. Clinging to the rocks. Doria Castle is a medieval defensive structure with a cylindrical tower, and then you've got the Belfort Bastion is just below it.
So so you come down, you've got the piazza, you've got the churches, you've obviously got the boats and the fishing port there. It's an impressive town as well, isn't it? But we were ready to hop back on the train because we had the what do you call it, the train pass? Yes,
correct.
And we headed back to Monterosso for a late lunch and another swim, and the water was much warmer today, maybe because we were exhausted.
Look, on the train on the way back, it was dangerously overcrowded.
People were just jamming in. That's probably the worst we had.
That was the worst we had the whole trip. But generally,
But luckily, it was only that one stop. It was 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. You would hate to be on it for the full journey. But generally, the whole train system's really, really good. So
back for a swim, as I said.
Yes, and I don't know whether it was a cold current the first time I dived in, or it was a warm current this time, but it was much warmer.
Well, after our swim, which, as we just said, was a lot warmer, we were going to head back to our apartment, which was 50 metres away, and we came across a little bar right on the beach.
Yes, we discovered Bar Bagni il Gigante. Look, it was basically right on the beach, friendly staff, and reasonably priced drinks. And the following morning we went down and we thought, we'll see if it's open for coffee. And it was €2 for a coffee. Croissant was $1.20, and the fruit salad was €4.
I know.
So look,
took us
perfect location.
Yeah, which we found
beautiful
earlier.
Day, great staff, and cheap food. It was really, really good.
And
that's
views.
At the northern end of Monterosso, next to Bar a Bar.
Yeah, and on that beach right under if you see the gigantic statue, Neptune, that's where you'll find it. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so the last thing we wanted to do was we've done the train, we've walked some of the track, we've been to all the villages now.
Yep.
What I wanted to do was hop on the ferry and see all the villages from the ocean, right, and get a different perspective. And once again, beachtravelwine.com, episode 61, and you'll see all the photos I took from the towns and also from the water and the different towns. So we, with the ferry ticket selling place, we went there the day before, had a chat to them, found out all about, when it leaves, got a timetable, and they told us to come back at 9:00 in the morning. And so we went back at 9:15 because I like to be early. And of course they open at 9:15. So we went up to buy our tickets and they said cash only, even though I'd been there the day before and asked all the questions. So then we had, with another couple, had to go and find an ATM and get some cash out. Yeah.
Yep.
And we went back and got our tickets. No harm done, but it just would have been nice to know ahead of time because I think they're about €30 each or something.
No, unlimited ferry, hop on and hop off is €39, which is
Yeah.
$64 per person.
I didn't have. I think I had about €50 cash, so we had to go and get that. So what you do is you hop on the ferry at wherever you are.
Yeah. The
Monterosso.
ticket booth
Yeah.
and the boat departs from the pier in
Yes.
the old part of town. So
Yes.
it's at the southern end of town. They don't recommend you purchase the tickets online, as service can be suspended at any time due to weather conditions.
Okay. But we got on at Monterosso. It actually starts at Levanto, so you can get on down a bit further. And so you can buy the tickets at any of the stops to get on. So you buy your ticket and it's a hop on, hop off. But we didn't really want to do that. We, as I said, we wanted to go and check out the views from the water and just enjoy being out on the Mediterranean or the Ligurian Sea. And so what it does is it stops at all the little ports. So it went from Monterosso to Vernazza. It doesn't stop at Corniglia because it doesn't have a pier. And then the next one was Manarola, and then also into Riomaggiore. Yes.
Yep.
And then it goes to Porto Venere.
Yep.
Which is a town south of obviously Riomaggiore.
Yeah, it's a much more substantial town.
It is much more substantial, and we didn't know anything about it. So, but the boat finishes there. You can't stay on that one. You have to hop off, and we were impressed. As you come around the headland, you'll see the photos. As you come around the headland, there's sort of a castle on top of the hill. It's a much more substantial town area with a plaza and shops, and then there's a walkway, sort of you can walk around the water, and there's sort of normal beaches there, isn't there? You know, like they're a bit more sandy, and there were a few rocky ones, but and yeah, but you can hop off, and then there's another, as part of your ticket, you can pay another €5, I think, is it?
Yeah, another €5, and you can get a chance to check out the 3 islands off Porto Venere, which is Palmaria, Tino and Teneto, and those tours go at 12 and 3 p.m. Together with the bike. So you basically got to have the day pass, and then it's an extra €5 per person.
Yes.
We didn't do that, but it looked pretty nice. We went for a
walk, didn't we? We walked down a bit further, and I could see all these plastic. They look like plastic tubs. What are the barrels floating in the water, and they're all tied together. And I'm like, there must be, they're not for mooring boats because there's some tied up in the middle, but they must be for growing something. Anyway, they're mussel plantations.
They are. I found that out this morning.
Yeah.
Mussel plantations. So I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah.
Look. The other thing about Porto Venere, and as we said, Venere, it was much more substantial, but they had the cruise ships. There was a lot more water activity.
Just around from Porto Venere, you could see was La Spezia.
Yeah.
So the cruise ships are probably more at La Spezia, or in that bay, visiting both. So there's quite a lot happening in that area. And,
Look, it's known for its natural park, a protected area with trails and dive sites. The park encompasses those islands I mentioned before, dotted with beaches and cafe. The Gothic-style church of St. Peter sits atop a rocky headland. And as Leanne said, when you're on the water and you're heading towards it and you see that church on the headland, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
And there's a lot of boats, sort of all different size boats. There's sailboats, there's, pleasure boats, and there's a lot more activity in that bay area in Porto Venere, which made for lovely viewing, didn't it?
Yeah, and just one thing not to forget before we go any further, there are afternoon round-trip tickets valid from 2 p.m. for the ferries, which cost €28 or $46.
So it's a bit cheaper.
$46 per person, yeah. So
we spent a bit of time in Porto Venere.
In fact, we did a live, didn't we?
Well, we tried to do a live, and I stuffed up, and we had no audio. Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it. Then we hopped back on the ferry, which, there was plenty of room on that. Still lots of people, but, plenty. And they stop in at all the ports.
Yeah, they seem so much better organised than Lake Como.
Yeah. but they're counting, people on and off, and you just think, oh my God, look at all those people lining up to get on. But before that, there's basically, I don't know, dozens and dozens of people get off. So it's a pretty good swap. So yeah, I was up the front taking photos and just enjoying the views of. It looks like the mountains basically jut out of the sea with these colourful little matchbox size houses on them, and there's the peaches and the yellows and the oranges, and it's just beautiful, and not over developed. I think that's the thing about it that makes it special, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's no high rise or anything like that.
No.
But just one thing, don't expect any safety talks before you get on any of the watercraft in Italy. They just don't do
Actually,
it.
one of the boats got on, I'm like, oh, they do have life jackets here.
Yeah, that was the ferry. That was the ferry.
You wouldn't know in a lot of the others, would you? So we've done it all. We've done the train, which is quick and easy. We've done the ferry, which does take a bit longer, obviously, but it's not that far. Once again, the thing that takes the time on the ferry is getting the people on and off, because there's one sort of gangway, I guess you call it, where everyone has to get off and everyone gets on. Whereas with the trains, it's all the carriages with all the doors. So that's the process that takes the time, is the getting on and getting off. Although they do it as quickly as they can. There's no.
Yeah, I never had a problem with that at all. I think I was just sort of in one of those moods where I was just going to enjoy it.
I'm just telling for the thing is you want to get from one place to the other quickly. The train would be the thing to do.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I meant with that. So yeah, like, what a way to see Cinque Terre. We've walked it, we've trained it, we've boated it, and we've checked out all the villages. Spent a fair bit of time in Monterosso, which is probably where we'd recommend people to stay, because it's flat and it's bigger and it has many more restaurants.
Well, it's got the best beaches as well.
And the beaches, yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, Darren?
Look, the daily cost, including accommodation, airfares, and food and beverage or booze, was about $600 Australian. So, not over the top really when you consider compared to other places we've been. Yeah, expect to pay €30 for the beach umbrella and the sun lounges. There's limited luxury accommodation. If you're going to stay in the smaller villages, expect stairs and uphill to your accommodation.
We had a lovely week, and now I understand all about Cinque Terre, the 5 towns, how to get around. It makes much more sense to me now. Yeah. And hopefully, for you two listening, you'll understand exactly what you can expect when you get there.
Yeah, it's picture postcard perfect.
It is. And you'll go and look at those pictures at beachtravelone.com, episode 61. And don't forget, if you're planning a trip, that you've obviously got the information, but if you know someone else planning a trip or interested in going to Italy or have been to Italy, we've had people reaching out saying, oh, I just love listening to that podcast. It brought back all the memories. Please share our podcast with them. We'd really appreciate that. And so, drum roll, please.
Favourite place to have a wine? Well, I've got to say, I didn't have a wine there, but if it had been maybe a little bit later, I'm thinking the juice bar that did sell wine and booze.
Oh.
In between Corniglia and Vernazza.
On our walk.
On our walk, I think would have been, because the views, my goodness.
Yeah.
Just spectacular.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to say mine was, I think it was, I've got 2. Which one am I going to choose? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Look, because you're so beautiful, I think you can have 2.
I'm gonna say just sitting in the old town at that limoncello shop.
Sure.
Because the smell of the jasmine and the tomatoes and the little decorated shops and the little Italian little vehicles going past. It was pretty nice. And the other place was at that restaurant, the little red and white check tablecloth.
Oh, yeah, okay, Hotel Marana.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Marana, sorry, Hotel Marana. Yeah, it was. And
I just felt, like you think about, I'm going to go to Italy and eat pasta, in a restaurant. That's exactly what you'd see in your mind, I think.
Yeah, and I just remembered it wasn't that expensive. It was about, we had a bottle of wine and two main meals. It was 133 Australian dollars, which is what you'd pay at home. But yeah, so look, but you bring up about the fragrances again.
It's just everywhere.
It's just everywhere.
Yeah, that'll stick with me too. All right, well, let's hope you've enjoyed our Cinque Terre podcast, and we'll see you next time somewhere in the Italian. I don't know where. It'll be a surprise. So,
Arrivederci.
ciao.